You don't fit in here at the bar with your boring attitude. Maybe you should go drink rainwater instead, since it suits you better. After losing my job, I felt really down. Then, I ran into my annoying ex-boss at the bar. He stole my seat, as usual. But then, something unexpected happened. My name's Michael. I'm 59 years old, and I work at a small toy company called Colorado Toys. I'm not great at talking to people, but I try to be polite to everyone. I even came up with a popular toy, but my colleague Kevin took all the credit. He was good at making himself look good, while dumping his work on others. Because I'm not good at speaking up. My bosses didn't think much of me. Kevin eventually became my boss, and he treated me like I was useless. He'd insult me and make me work overtime. He was right about one thing, though. When I went home, it was lonely. I used to live with my wife and son. My wife was wonderful, always happy, and taking care of our home and son. Our son, Jason, loved playing music and with the toys I made. Seeing him happy made me feel like my work mattered, even if things weren't going well at the office. As long as my family was happy, I was happy too. But those peaceful times didn't last long. When I was 30, my wife got really sick and passed away. I was devastated. I didn't know how to go on without her, but I had Jason. I knew I couldn't stay sad forever, so I focused on taking care of him and our home. At first, it was tough. I wasn't used to doing all the housework and looking after Jason by myself. My cooking was terrible, and Jason missed his mom a lot. He'd have tantrums and cry for her, and I felt the same way. I wished I could see her too, but I hugged Jason tight and promised to do my best for both of us. I wished I could say something more eloquent, but I struggled with words. It was hard, but I got better at running the house over time. As Jason grew up, he started helping me more, which made things easier. Even though we didn't talk as much when he became a teenager, he still pitched in with chores. On his 21st birthday, Jason thanked me for raising him all those years. I was so touched that I cried. Seeing him grow into a kind person was a relief. When he graduated from college and moved out on his own, I was happy for him. But I felt lonely in our empty house. Before I knew it, I was 59 years old. One day at work, my boss, Kevin, came up to me with a smirk. He told me I was fired, saying it was because of downsizing. Even though I hadn't caused any trouble, I hadn't done anything remarkable either. I felt it was unfair, but I couldn't argue. Kevin seemed to enjoy seeing me upset, telling me to enjoy what little time I had left in my working life. I knew I had to tell Jason about losing my job, but it was hard to find the words. But I couldn't keep it from him forever. When I called Jason to tell him, I was nervous. But his response surprised me. He told me I'd done enough, and now I could relax as much as I wanted. I was grateful for his understanding and comfort. However, life after retiring was harder than I thought. At first, it felt good not to deal with Kevin's bullying anymore. But soon, I felt lost and aimless. Watching TV didn't lift my spirits. I realized that work, even with Kevin, had given me purpose. I took pride in making toys and imagining kids playing with them. But now, I couldn't find anything else that made me happy. After 6 months of retirement, I started to feel like I didn't know what I was living for anymore. Sometimes I'd talk to my wife's picture, wondering what I should do next. One day, I saw a TV feature about a beautiful waterfall in a forest. I didn't have any particular interest, but I watched because I had nothing else to do. The waterfall looked so peaceful and calming. I felt drawn to it. To change my mood, I decided to visit the waterfall. It had been a while since I felt motivated to do something on my own. Leaving my sadness behind, I quickly got ready for the trip. When the day arrived, I didn't hesitate. I reached the forest and felt the crisp, refreshing air. The trees were green and beautiful. After about an hour of walking, I saw the waterfall. It was even more stunning in person. Just watching the water flow was soothing. Since it was a weekday, there weren't many people around. As I was thinking of finding a spot to sit, I noticed a young woman sitting nearby. She seemed to be in pain with her swollen foot. I asked if she was okay, and she tried to smile, but it was clear she needed help. She had come to the forest by rental car, and it would be hard for her to walk back alone. I'd offered to take her to the hospital, and she seemed relieved. "So I can give you a lift? Please don't push yourself," I offered. The woman hesitated, but I assured her, "Please don't feel obliged." Eventually, she relented and said, "Please, I would appreciate that." I twisted my ankle walking in the forest. I didn't want to return without seeing the waterfall, so I pushed myself, but it got worse. I supported her out of the forest and drove her to the hospital in my rental car. The doctor said it's not serious, that she needed to rest for a while. Afterward, I took her to the hotel where she was staying. Her name was Emily, and she loved traveling. Emily told me about the various tourist places she had visited. She was a great storyteller, and listening to her made me want to visit those places. Surprisingly, the conversation flowed smoothly even though it was our first meeting. We continued chatting even after arriving at her hotel room. During our conversation, I learned that Emily lived in the same town as me and even knew about my former workplace. It's surprising how well she knew about such a small company. Eventually, the topic changed, and she asked, "Why did you come here, Michael?" After some hesitation and wondering where to start, I ended up telling her everything from the beginning. "Well, actually, I got fired from my job." Despite it not being the kind of story you typically share with someone you just met, I said. Emily listened to it all. It turned out that she had also quit her job due to exhausting office relationships and understood my situation. Her love for travel began as a way to refresh herself by visiting different places around the country. "For all the hardship you faced, I'm sure good things are ahead in your life," she comforted me. Her empathy touched me deeply, and I was grateful. Despite the unexpected events, it turned out to be a heartwarming trip. After returning from the trip, I received a call from Jason. He invited me out, saying, "There's a great bar I know. How about we go for a drink?" It may be nosy of me, but I was worried you might have been feeling lonely, Dad. "Let's go out and have a good time. I have a lot to talk about too." Not nosy at all. "It's true that I've been living a lonely life lately," I admitted. I appreciated Jason's concern. Come to think of it, it had been a long time since Jason and I had a drink together. I think the last time was on his 21st birthday. The thought of drinking with my son after so long lifted my spirits, and I quickly agreed. Unfortunately, it was pouring rain on the day of our appointment. Still, the thought of seeing Jason made the rain seem less dreary. Bothered, I took the train and arrived at the designated bar. But Jason hadn't shown up yet. The place was bustling, and most seats were taken. Luckily, there was one empty seat near the entrance, so I took it. As I perused the menu, the bar door swung open. I glanced up and was shocked to see Kevin walk in. He noticed me too, initially looking surprised before his expression turned mocking. "Well, well, what a coincidence to see you here, enjoying life after getting fired," he said, taking a seat opposite me. My son is supposed to join me soon. I'm sorry, but could you please find another seat?" I requested. Kevin's eyes narrowed, and he waved dismissively, saying, "Why should I care? I want to drink here too. Besides, I'm a regular. I should be given priority." His demand seemed ridiculous, but Kevin persisted, insulting me further. Feeling uncomfortable and not wanting to cause a scene, I reluctantly decided to wait for another seat. As I stood up, the door opened again, and to my surprise, Jason walked in with Emily. "What a coincidence to meet here. This is amazing," I exclaimed, surprised. Emily, however, seemed unfazed. "Meeting you here isn't a coincidence. Jason and I know each other and have an important matter to discuss, so we came together," she explained. Bewildered by this turn of events, I sat back down as Emily confidently approached Kevin's table. Kevin demanded to know who she was, but Emily, undeterred, took a seat and declared that they should discuss matters then and there. Surprised by her assertiveness, I sat down as instructed. Emily then dropped a bombshell. She was the daughter of the president of Colorado Toys, the company I used to work for. Meeting her while traveling was a stroke of incredible luck. Kevin was visibly taken aback as Emily continued, revealing that she had questioned her father about my firing and found out it was due to reports of poor work performance. I couldn't believe it, so I shared the story of our encounter during my travels with my father, insisting on a proper investigation. My father agreed to look into it, seeing how earnestly I pleaded. Emily glared sharply at Kevin. It turned out that Kevin had lied about my work performance, negatively influencing the management's opinion of me. What evidence do you have for that? It's a false accusation. Kevin protested, his face turning pale. Emily remained calm. We obtained testimonies from Michael's former colleagues. They all unanimously said Michael was a good person. It's strange that he was fired, she explained. Kevin's face now turned red with anger. Those traitors, he exclaimed. Emily spoke with an air of disdain. If you must blame someone, blame yourself for your foolish actions. You will soon face the consequences. Be prepared. Kevin stood up, moving aggressively towards Emily. I was about to intervene when a stern-looking waiter approached. His name tag read Manager Brian. He gave Kevin a stern look. Sir, I'm sorry to interrupt, but could you please leave? Your loud voice is disturbing other customers. How dare you speak to a regular like me that way? Despite Kevin's high-handed attitude, Brian responded firmly in a low voice. I'll just say it as it is. You're a troublesome customer. When you get drunk, you cause issues with other patrons, and we've received complaints asking us to deal with it. We'd rather not have a regular like you. Chastened by Brian, Kevin turned pale and hastily left the bar. I thanked Brian profusely. Thank you so much. You really helped us out. It's no problem at all. Brian replied with a hearty smile before returning to the back of the bar. Afterward, Jason, Emily, and I decided to have a good time together. Emily and Jason had two important things to share. The first was about Kevin's misconduct. It was pure coincidence that Kevin was at the bar, and both were as surprised as I was. The second was a delightful piece of news. Emily and Jason were in a relationship and considering marriage. Their meeting story was quite touching. Emily, after graduating from university, had joined a major corporation on her own merit. However, once Emily's identity as the company president's daughter became known, baseless rumors spread that she had gotten the job through connections. No matter how hard she worked, she couldn't gain trust, leading to a difficult time. One day, she saw a man playing a street piano at a station. It was Jason. After graduating from a music college, Jason had been working as a pianist, performing across the country. According to Emily, Jason's performance was wonderful, and just listening to it felt like a balm for her soul. She approached Jason to thank him after his performance, but she was so moved that she found herself in tears. Concerned, Jason listened to her story and suggested she travel around the country. He often traveled for work and believed unexpected encounters and discoveries enriched the heart. Upon hearing that, Emily decided to quit her job and set out on her travels. As she kept in touch with Jason during her journey, they grew closer and eventually started dating. Jason had arranged this meetup to introduce Emily and simultaneously cheer me up. Naturally, I supported their relationship and congratulated them. Congratulations. I'm looking forward to the wedding, I said. Jason laughed and said, We haven't even decided when to get married yet. You're getting ahead of yourself. But you looked pleased. The three of us then enjoyed a pleasant meal and drinks together. It seemed that Brian, the manager, had overheard our conversation as he kindly provided us with some complimentary dishes. A few days after the incident at the bar, I heard from Emily that Kevin had been fired. It turned out he was not only harassing others but also embezzling company funds. Apparently, his family had enough and left him. Meanwhile, I returned to work and got involved in toy development again. My past achievements were recognized and I was promoted. Now able to fully utilize my skills, I launched new products one after another, contributing greatly to the company's growth. Many consumers thanked me for the wonderful toys, which was incredibly gratifying. Jason and Emily were also delighted with my success. As kids, they loved the toys I developed. so their happiness meant even more to me. Recently, they celebrated their wedding, and they are now enjoying a blissful married life. Influenced by Emily, I've grown quite fond of traveling, often taking trips on weekends. My personal life has finally become fulfilling, and living feels enjoyable now. There was a time when I was worried about what the future held, but now it seems life will be good. It felt like my wife in heaven was smiling down at me, reassured.